So we've been talking today with parents and with alumni, and friends of the school. And so this is Mark Stimpson, as I said, and I'm going to ask Mark to just introduce himself a little bit when he came to the school. I think he can tell you about who he married and so forth. So I'll just give him an opportunity. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Mark Stimpson. I graduated Pioneer Valley Christian in 2005, and I came in my freshman year of high school. So I wasn't here as long as most of my other classmates, but certainly got everything that I needed in those 4 years, and I was very blessed to have had that opportunity to attend such an amazing school and with such amazing people as Mr. Duff here as well. Became a mentor of mine, and just a lot of Christian role models to look up to in my life, where I hadn't really had that before aside from my family, but it was a great lens to look through. But yeah, I mean, I came here, and I was originally from Russell, Massachusetts, which is about, I don't know what it is now. Back then it was 45 to 50 minutes,
Yeah.
but now it's probably an hour and a half with the traffic. They added a few more lights and a little more traffic. So I don't know if I could technically do it now, but we did it then, and it was a sacrifice for everyone. People that had to pick me up and bring me home, and the sports after school. So I mean, we were here for quite a while, getting up early, getting home late, and that just shows you how much the school meant to me, I guess, and how valuable it was for me. But
How'd you learn about the school anyway out there in Russell?
yeah, I mean, I think my parents heard about it through church.
Okay.
I want to say the Andersons and the Hodges,
Okay.
who were family friends through church, had kind of mentioned it. And I had a bit of a rocky road in my public school. I wasn't a bad kid, but I wasn't necessarily the model student. Kind of acted out a little bit and kind of felt I was in the fray a bit. And I like that. I like to be in the fray, as you know. I like to push the boundaries as far as I can. And I wasn't getting necessarily the best attention, and I was getting put into a category that my parents didn't like. And they kind of saw the direction I was headed, and they thought that this would be the better choice for me, and it was. Because when I got here, those things that I was being modeled for, or said this is the way he is, and this is some of the problems, it was actually kind of looked at a little bit differently at Pioneer Valley. It was like, well, these are your gifts, and these are what you need to focus on, and these aren't necessarily bad things, but these are things you need to work on. And you're loud, and you're boisterous, and you're got a lot of energy, and you need to focus that energy. So I was just raw, and I needed to be chiseled out.
So you went here to school, and then what did you do after you graduated?
After I graduated, I went to Johnson & Wales to see about a girl. And it's actually, I met my wife in high school, and she went there, and it kind of worked out where I liked the program, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go too. And I went, and it was a great decision. I was able to work full-time job and go to school for business is what I wanted to do, and I was still able to pursue that relationship with my now wife, then girlfriend. And throughout that time, it was really nice because we weren't too far away. We were only an hour and a half in Providence, Rhode Island, and we were still close to family. But yeah, I went there for, got my bachelor's about 3.5 years in international business, and then went on to work for AT&T down in Atlanta. I got recruited for a executive management program, and they trained me on, at the time that was, pretty revolutionary iPhones.
Yeah.
Now it's like, 10-year-olds are probably more savvy than I was back then. But, at the time, it was the job at hand. And so I started down there and then came back up north and, continued on and ended up going into a few different careers.
So you moved out of the telephone business or the phone business.
Yeah, moved out of the phone business and kind of moved into the furniture business. Grew up building with my dad, and as you're a carpenter as well. Always liked to make things with my hands, and never knew what I wanted to do, but knew that that's what made sense to me. At the end of the day, that's what brought me joy, and when I close my eyes at night, that's kind of what I saw myself doing. So I started in the furniture business and just kind of scraped together enough tools and money to get a business off the ground, and here I am 13 years later and still going at it better than ever, and I couldn't be happier about it.
So explain a little bit about because you have kind of a unique niche in furniture making that is a little different than the average.
Yeah, so
furniture shop.
My furniture is, we're totally vertically integrated in the sense that, I wanted to cut, dry, and build all my furniture with the trees that we found locally. So it wasn't just about building everything. It was about what can we build with this. This is what we have. This is what we can, put into a new piece that can go on and live another life. And that was important to me because that's how I've always viewed great chefs, and that's how I've always viewed anything I admire. It's like, what can you do with what you're given? And especially in a time like COVID, it's like, you start looking at where things are coming from and how much they're costing and how can you secure that. Well, kind of foolproof against that because everything's in-house, and that to me was always important, was to be able to control that supply chain and also the look, and the function of it all. So worked a long time to figure that out, and it's not easy, and it takes time. It's like farming though. It's like you have to plan for your crops, and you have to maintain those crops, and you have to prepare for diseases, and you have to prepare for weeds and all that stuff. It's the same thing. So it's like that in life, and I think there's got to be a Bible verse about that, because that's a very natural thing that it continue. If you're not, that theory or those fundamentals are universal throughout everything. If you don't tend to your crop, it's gonna run crazy. Yeah.
So you make any particular type of furniture? What's the?
Yeah, the majority of what I make is tables. Yep, I make a lot of live edge tables, a lot of slab tables. Big, beautiful pieces of wood that make sure, or that it's most of what I do is 8-foot, 9-foot, 10-foot conference tables, dining tables. I always wanted to create a space where people could come together and have a conversation, share your day, kind of talk things out, and have a place that you could do that at that, just ends up being really beautiful and nice to look at, and it kind of changes the whole vibe of the space. And I love that. I love when I see any table that's handmade. It doesn't have to be mine. It could be anything that's just beautifully put together. It really centers a room. And for me, it was always like, I want to bring this back to nature, because I believe that that's kind of what I do, is I just take things from nature that God created and say, hey, look how beautiful this is in this way. And that's kind of like my gift in the furniture realm. But that's all. I just wanted people to have a space that they could, and the children too, because I always say, when a kid sees something for the first time, you'll never look at it differently, right? And I think that's an amazing thing, because a lot of times people, they don't value that enough. And it's, when you're used to something and it's a beautiful thing, and somebody took a lot of care and time and patience putting that together, and that is seen by somebody who's not necessarily familiar with all the other things, becomes the baseline. And when that's the baseline, well, that'll kind of propel you in the rest of your future. And you'll be looking at things differently through a different lens all the time. I don't know, that's something always stuck with me. When I build, that's kind of what I'm looking for, is I want to shock the normal, you know, and I want to make you say, like, what is that? Like, how did you do that? Because a table's a table, but if I can make it something that you've never seen before, well, then I've done my job.
Unique table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they blow me away. I mean, I look at them and it's like, how did this happen?
Do
You
people
know?
come to you with a design, or do you come up with the design yourself?
Yeah, they used to come to me with design. Now it's just more, we have the material, we have the machinery, so it's kind of like, this is what this wants to be now.
Mhm.
And I'm going to let it be what it wants to be. And I'm not going to kind of push it into somebody's, eye in terms of like, this is what they want. It's now more like when you come in and you go online, this is what we have. And I think that's better. I think that's a better, more sustainable, plan, because it frees me up and it frees the wood up to do what it wants to do, and everything can kind of move down quicker. And I think it's a better, it's just a better process all around for everyone.
So if someone wanted a table, how would they get a hold of you?
We got a website, hopeswoodshop.com.
HopeWoodshop.com.
Hopes, H-O-P-E-S.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know, I never learned the punctuation, I guess.
that's all right. So you came here as a freshman, and what were any milestones in that 4 years that you reflect on back, and you'll think back, that were kind of important or fun? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I was raw. Like I said, I was raw when I came in, and I can remember I don't know what you call that, but there was like I hit a wall, and I wasn't sure how to go forward, right? Like there was a tension point that I wasn't learning the same things everyone else was learning when I came in, and everything was new to me, and I felt like I was falling behind a little bit. And that fight or flight response is like, either you're gonna figure it out or you're gonna run away. And I kind of wanted to run away a little bit. And I remember Mr. Smith at the time was the headmaster, principal or headmaster?
Principal.
Principal.
Yeah.
And he was our English teacher. And many people probably don't know Mr. Smith, but he was a very, stern, caring individual. And he sat me down in his office, and like, we just read a book. And at the time, I never really read books. And I wasn't really that competent in my reading ability, and my English was really bad. And I was really self-conscious about it. And, I think a lot of times when people, want to say, like, yeah, I'm good at that, I can do that, you're kind of lying a little bit. And he saw through that. He's like, we're going to work on this. So I went through a lot of, after-school programs with him, and he brought me up to the level that everyone was at, just this one-on-one. And I'm a quick learner. I just need sometimes a little bit of extra time to get it, or maybe somebody to show me the direction. And that's what he did. And I don't know, he tapped into something. He really listened to not necessarily what I was, but what I needed. And I remember in college, I mean, he taught me, it's crazy, but like up until that point, and this is something that is specific to me and him, was he taught me that my brain is like a filing cabinet, and that when I learn something, I need to file that. And that was like a switch. It was like everything in my life just made sense. And when I went to college, I did that. And I would take tests, and I mean, I don't even know what I graduated with out of Pioneer Valley. It wasn't very good, because I was catching up, and I was playing all this catch up. By the time I got to college, I was like a 4.0 student, because I started using that. And when I cared about something like business or like accounting or whatever it was, I was filing it away in my brain. And when I got to the test, it was just like, all right, go in, pull it out, bam, there it is. And he tapped that, he literally gave that to me. And it was amazing, and I still use it to this day.
Hmm.
I mean, that's just how my brain works. And I didn't know that, but when he taught me that, it was like, wow, that's impressive.
So you found a connection with you, and
Yeah,
somehow you connected, even though
we had nothing in common.
you weren't in common.
Yeah, we had nothing
He
in
was,
common.
he was a very strong English teacher. He was a good theologian, and yet he could connect with someone who liked the practical side of life.
You know what he always said to me was he loved, and this was, he said, where are you from? I said, from Russell. And he's like, I love the drive into Russell. And I was like, really? Nobody's ever said that to me.
Yeah.
So it kind of we connected a little bit there, but we didn't have much in common.
Well, he pastored a church out there in Blandford
Yeah.
for a number of years.
He loved it. He
Yeah.
loved it. So I don't know. I don't know. We were meant to meet, and I think if it wasn't for him, I don't know where I would be. But
Yeah.
you know, it really made a big difference. And you know, he was very particular on what he taught, and you know, and how he spoke, and
Right.
but that tidbit of information to me was worth its weight in gold.
Yeah.
Because it brought me, you know, a lot of success in life.
Those of you who don't know Mr. Smith, he came as a principal, a teacher in, I think, 1985, and then he passed away fairly young. We were very disappointed when that occurred, but it was after you left school, I think.
No, I think he
it
was here. Yeah.
when
I was here.
You were there?
Yeah.
Okay, it was right near the end of
Yeah.
your career at the school. Yeah. So you played some sports. What were the things that you enjoyed about high school?
I like the class sizes. I thought they were perfect. I thought it was really easy to get to know your classmates and be able to focus on your studies, and the sports side of it. It was nice to play with different classes. It wasn't just everyone from your class. So that was kind of unique to Pioneer Valley.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of seniors, juniors, and sophomores. So they were able to kind of bring everybody up together. And the seniors always took care of the freshmen and the sophomores, and that camaraderie in sports was really nice. And I had never seen that before. It was always like freshmen are freshmen, junior sophomores, junior juniors. You stick with your own and you don't go, you know, out of line. But here it wasn't like that.
Crossover.
Yeah, it was nice. It was, and you learned a lot. So by the time you became a senior, I feel like you had a lot more experience. And you know, obviously you have a smaller team, but it's not a bad thing.
Who was your coach in high school?
We had Mr. Hart, was my basketball coach.
Yeah.
Great coach. Yeah, I think we won the championship
Mm-hmm.
2 years.
And you played what else in sports?
Soccer.
Soccer.
Yeah, just to get in shape for basketball.
Basketball is your sport.
Just to get in shape for basketball.
Mark
yeah.
shows up on Monday nights here at school to play basketball with alumni and parents who play every Monday night.
Dads and
right?
grads. So
Yeah.
any dads want to come out and play basketball,
Yeah.
come on out.
So, what would you say to a family that was wrestling with, should I send my child to a Christian school or not? How would you counsel someone like that, based on your experience?
Yeah, I'd say the family you get is second to none. I mean, everyone here is family, and if you don't have that foundation or aren't sure about that foundation, then let Pioneer Valley Christian be that foundation. Because it may not be you, but it may be your child that can go into the real world and know who they are, not just who they are, but who they are in God, in God's eyes. And there's a sense of peace with that, and assurance that no matter what happens, you know, God is in control and is watching over us. And I think that now more than ever, that is a true statement that, you know, we need to be mindful of. And you know, this school is an amazing piece of, you know, history in Springfield. It's amazing that it's here, because, you know, it's such a, like, I obviously learned about it from, you know, family, friends, but people that are around this school, that live near the school, it's a blessing that it's so close. And I know the cost is more expensive, but this is going to be something that your children are going to have for the rest of their lives. I mean, I only had 4 years of it, and I can only imagine what it would have been if I had more. And I am very grateful for the time that I had. And obviously I can only speak from my own experiences, but I would have no hesitations recommending the school to anyone that maybe felt like they weren't getting the attention from the school that they're currently in, or they weren't setting their kids up for the success that they want for them in life, because it's an individual approach for everybody. But definitely keep it in the running for everyone.
You think, sometimes I have people say to me that, well, you're just sheltering the students way too much from the real world.
Yeah, the real world is scary.
What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I didn't go to a Christian college. I went to a secular college in the middle of a city, major city. And the real world is real. There's no getting out of that. But you have a space where young minds are growing and are being distracted consistently in a world that wants everybody's attention all the time. And sometimes you need to shelter somebody from things that they don't know, because you have to learn, like I said before, you have to learn who you are in the eyes of God, and that's a personal relationship, and that's something that you're going to be able to take from here into the real world. And I don't think a lot of people understand that until you understand it, and that is something that you have to experience. I remember the shift for me. It was, it wasn't necessarily a bad thing that I came here, but I was different. I didn't want to do all the same things that everybody else was doing, and I wanted to lead a good Christian life and to do it to the best of my abilities. And the world is a very tempting place, and there's a lot of downfalls, and there's a lot of tests and tribulations that we go through, but you have to understand your foundation and something to fall back on. And I think you used to say that all the time, is like, this is your foundation, and from here you need to use this as you go forward. And that's something that always stuck with me. It was like, we're not perfect, but at least we have something that we can go back to and rely on, because that's our faith.
Yeah, I am a little bit amazed sometimes when people ask me that question, because the assumption is that a child or a young person will develop better if they are exposed to a lot of evil or sin. And yet the scriptures seem to speak against that, really. And the whole bringing up your children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, and Deuteronomy 6 reminds us that you're supposed to teach your children when they get up, when they walk along the way, when they sit down, when they eat. The idea is that you really do raise them up in the Lord, and exposing them to all the sin that's available out there in the culture does not necessarily mean you're going to develop a strong child. It might work against you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're the master at that. I mean, I kind of I agree with that 100%. And I think the world is changing rapidly with technology. I see it right before our eyes, and I think having a safe space would not be a bad thing. I think that this is going to be a great thing, and I think the children here are getting a much better experience than people who are living an unfiltered life.
It's a good way to put it. So, to wrap it up here we are trying to raise a few dollars to help the school and to really bless these kids that are here. What would you say to someone who was thinking, well, I could give to this organization, I could give to this one. Here's PVCA saying, hey, we need some help.
Yeah.
What would be the motivation to give?
Yeah, I think that the reason for giving, and obviously Giving Tuesday, I wasn't too familiar with it until I learned about it recently. But this is a great cause, and this is a great place for a Christian school to raise up the next generation of young leaders and, future scholars. And it's something that means a lot to me, but also means a lot to the community. And we need to preserve that as best as possible. So if it means giving a little bit, or if you got a lot, give a lot. It's not going to go to waste. It's not going to go to a giant director's salary. It's going to go directly into the school. It's going to go into educating the kids and providing necessary education resources for the school. So if you got something, feel free to give it. I mean, I brought my donation in today, and I would gladly give to this school continually, and my family and my wife's family will always give to this school anytime they need it.
Well, we want to thank you, Mark, for coming in today and sharing a little bit about your experience. We're excited about the work you're doing. I've got to get down to your shop and take a look. I keep saying I'm going to get down to Mark's shop, and I haven't made it yet. But
yeah, the shop is in Springfield too, and anybody's welcome to come. And it's nice when I thought about going back or moving my shop, I was born in Springfield and went to school in Springfield, so it's kind of my home, and it is definitely now my home. But it's nice to have kind of those roots planted in a city like this, because it means a lot, and that is a community. So that's what Pioneer Valley is for me, as a community.
we need as many Christian lights in the city as we can get, because this is a city that needs to have men and women of faith blossom and use their gifts for God's glory, whether they're building tables or educating young people, whatever it is. It's a good thing. So we're glad you're here. We're glad to have had the opportunity to have you in the school and teach you. I had a chance to teach you a little bit myself. So he tries to forget that, but it was a good experience for me to have him as a student. And we're just thanking God for him and his family, and we know the Lord's going to use you greatly.
Thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you.